What up folks, it's Alex here, and today we're going to be having a look at this. This is the Akaso Brave 7 Launch Edition action camera. Now I've only had this camera for a very short period of time, so this isn't a full review, it's just an unboxing and some initial impressions with some test footage at the end. I've put the chapters in the description, so feel free to skip to the parts which are most important to you. I will of course follow this video up with a full review once I've spent a little bit more time with the camera. Now, I must mention that Akaso did send this to me. They sent it to me for free. However, this is not a sponsored video. They're not paying me to say anything or anything like that. They just want my honest opinions and to make a quick video to talk about it. So, here it is. So first up, some key specs and features. The sensor is a Sony IMX078 with a maximum aperture of f2.8. The maximum resolution is 4K at 30 frames per second, and that's at 50 megabits per second. There's also 2.7K at 60, 1080p at 120, and 720p at 240. It's capable of 20 megapixel photos, and there's also 6-axis image stabilization. The camera itself is IPX7 water resistant, however there's also a waterproof housing included. There's a 2-inch rear touchscreen plus a front-facing selfie screen. There's Wi-Fi for connecting to an app and a mini HDMI port. It's currently $139, so $140 US. So if it lives up to all those specs, it's a bit of a bargain, really, at less than half the price of some of the other big players in the action camera market right now. With all that out of the way, let's crack open the box and have a look at what you actually get in here, shall we? So here it is. Here's the box in all its glory, and actually I must say, it's quite a nice bit of packaging. We'll slip that off, nice and easy, and it's a magnetic type that just pops open, and there we go. So down here we've got our accessories, and over here we've got the camera itself in the included waterproof housing. I don't often go diving or swimming, but it's a nice to have. Let's pop this open and have a look at the camera itself. Now, as you can tell, it's a bit reminiscent straight away of the DJI Action with that front-facing screen. And on the back here, you've got your standard screen. There's no physical buttons on the back. It's all done via the touch screen. But you do have 2 buttons on the top of the device. We've got one with an M on it and one with a circle, so I presume that's for menus or modes. And then we've got a circle for recording. And then we've also got a power button on the right hand side. There is a 1/4-inch thread on the bottom, which for me is a huge bonus. It just makes life so much easier to be able to attach this without any accessories to any of your existing tripods. We've got a little speaker by the looks of things over on the left hand side here. We've got a HDMI, and then we've got what looks to be micro USB. And this is the battery and the SD card slot. So as usual, as you'd expect, it's a micro SD card. Let's crack open some of the accessories and see what else we've got. We've got some bags, number 2, number 3, and number 1. So in number 1, we've just got a selection of your standard, relatively standard action camera mount. A couple of screw attachments. It's a very similar GoPro style attachment, the same sort of thing that you've all seen a million times before. But again, you get them all included, which is a really nice touch. And there's a decent amount there as well, actually. Bag number 2. Cleaning cloth, never a bad thing. Micro USB cable ties and a little metal connector so you can secure it. If you've mounted it somewhere, you just want to make sure it's super secure, you can connect it to something. And another couple of sticky pads. Bag number 3. Batteries. And there's 2 of them. Really nice that you get 2 batteries in this rather than just 1. And they are 1350 milliamp batteries. And 2 of them. Awesome. There you go. We've got a remote, we've got a photo button, and we've got a video button. And then you can just stop, record, take photos as you go. Not bad. Again, nice that it's included within the packaging. And lastly, we have an external battery charger. So again, you can charge the batteries while they're in the thing, but you don't have to. You get a 2 battery charger on the side with a standard micro USB port to plug it in. So boots up straight away, nice and quick actually. Let's try that again. Nice little noise. That's quite a fast boot, which is always a good thing. We're running at normal 4K 30 at the minute, but there's no SD card because I forgot to put that in. So let's pop that in. Now this is my memory card of choice. This is a 128 gig SanDisk Extreme. We've got 4 hours and basically 5 hours of recording time with a 128 gig card, so that's all good. We've got our playback button there, so we can have a look at any videos we've got. We can choose our settings. Here we go, normal, loop record. There is a built-in time-lapse function. Didn't know about that, so that's good. Slow motion, fast motion, and then the Wi-Fi. If we go to photo, we've got single, burst, time-lapse, self-time, long exposure, and again, Wi-Fi. So video resolution, 4K 30. It looks to be that you can only do 4K 30, so you can't do 4K 25 or 24 as of yet, but they could add that in a firmware upgrade. 2.7K is at 60, 30. 1080p is at 120, 60, 30. 720 is at 24, 120, 60. Video quality, high, middle, and low. We'll put that on high. We have EV, so we can make any exposure adjustments as well. If we go to the cog, we've got the sounds, so we can turn off our beeps and our volume and that sort of thing. We'll leave them on. You can adjust the angle. We've got super wide, wide, medium, and narrow. There is a driving mode if you're using this as a dash cam. Upside down. There's no accelerometers in there to actually flip the screen over if you've mounted the camera upside down, like if you've attached it to a dash cam and that sort of thing. You have to go into the menu. Obviously, it's not a big deal because the footage, you just rotate it 180 in your DaVinci Resolve or whatever editor you're using. So it's not a big deal, but it's worth noting. Now we've got the image stabilization on. Hopefully you can see my face. And it's still not very laggy at all. We're not recording yet, but that seems all good. Let's hit the record button, which I assume is this one. It is. And it's still not laggy actually. And that's at 4K 30. That's the highest resolution and frame rate it does. And actually there's no real noticeable lag on that at all. So that's a good start. I'm impressed with that. Let's stop that. That's mildly annoying. I'm just going to hit this. This is the sound it makes when you start recording. And this is the sound it makes when you stop recording. That may be a little bit confusing. It's really nice to have two different tones when you're out and about. If it's mounted on your chest or on your head, you can obviously use this, which we'll try and connect in a minute. But it's quite nice to be able to hear an audible beep to tell you the difference between starting and stopping recording. Now I've not changed anything, I've not done any setup. This is just both of them straight out of the box. If we just hit the record button on the watch, it starts recording, so that's pretty cool. And then if we just hit the photograph button, it's just switched to the photo mode and it's taken a quick photo. All seems to work pretty easily off the bat. I don't know what the range is. We'll have a play with that at some point as well, and we'll see if it's got decent enough range on there. If you swipe up from the bottom, you can then get in there to choose your resolution and your bitrate, so your quality. We'll go high, and we can just tap that to turn on and off the stabilization. Very similar to the DJI interface. So far, the interface is actually pretty responsive. I have no issues with that at all. Let's see if we can figure out how to turn this front screen on. I'm going to hold that, see what happens. So at the minute, we've just got that, which I don't think is quite right. Let's try that again. Don't know what that was, bit of a bug. But there you go, now it's working. So now we've got the front-facing camera is doing its thing. So you can see my little camera, my little setup up there. 4K 30 with the image stabilization. There's very little lag actually, so that's again very impressive. Now I've just noticed there's quite a substantial difference in terms of crop for when you're using the image stabilization turned on and when the image stabilization is turned off. So from the camera's position, let's do a quick record. So there you go, you're seeing me on my Sony and now you're seeing me via the Akaso. Hello. And that's with the image stabilization on, and that's with the image stabilization turned off. Now my overall first impressions, build quality, it's quite nice, it's fairly weighty, it feels relatively well put together. All the buttons function as you'd expect them. The user interface is a little bit dated, but generally it works. Everything does what it's meant to do. The biggest downside I've found so far is the lack of manual exposure settings. There's no ISO and there's no shutter speed, which may be a deal breaker for some. Now, obviously the proof is in the pudding, so we've got to take this thing out and go get some actual test footage, which is what we're going to do right now. So we've come outside, we're going to get some test footage with the Akaso. I'm filming at arm's length, EIS is on so you can see the framing, and this is also using the internal microphone. Now this project you're watching, I film everything at 4K, but then I dial it down to 1080p for YouTube, and generally I film at 24 frames per second. This is 4K 30, so what you're seeing now is a 4K 30 footage put onto a 1080p 24 frames per second timeline. Don't worry, I'm going to do a whole load more example footage for you. It will just be within a separate video leading up to the full review. But hopefully this will give you a quick idea of how this thing performs. It's really bright today, really bright, so this should be optimum conditions. It should have the lowest ISO, shooting wide open 2.8 with whatever shutter speed it's got. So hopefully this should look pretty good. We'll find out. Real quick walking test with the EIS on. So the image stabilization is on. I've actually got the Akaso attached to a tripod, so it's a little bit easier to hold, but there's no gimbal, so any stabilization you're hopefully seeing is all done through the electronic EIS. So we'll see how good that is. Seems alright looking at the back, but who knows. Just going along at 30, 40 miles an hour. Let's see how it does. This is backlit pretty heavily. The sun is right behind me, so let's just see how that exposure does. I've come inside now. This is the kitchen. It's lit by just a single window over there. It's still pretty bright, but imagine the ISO is having to boost up a little bit. So let's see how it deals with this. It's not low light definitely, but it's not massively bright. It's not as bright as it is out there, for example. Now you can't purchase this on Amazon just yet. However, it should be released on there later this week. So check the description. There'll be some links in there for you to follow so you can go have a look at this for yourself. Now, if you've got any questions or queries regarding the Brave 7, please pop them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer any that I can. As I mentioned earlier, there will be a full review coming out where I'll give you my final thoughts on this thing after I've had more time to play with it. And I will, of course, be uploading some full 4K example footage for you all to have a look at, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, thumbs up, comments or feedback down below, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take it easy. See ya.